King was a leader of the civil rights movement and embraced so many qualities that we can all strive to practice in our lives.
A brave advocate is a person that stands and speaks for others who cannot speak for themselves and that's afraid to speak for themselves. MLK was a brave advocate because he stood for justice, equality, and he stood and spoke for people that was too afraid to speak for themselves when we couldn't speak for ourselves, when we would get in trouble for speaking for ourselves. And he stood for justice. His bravery impacted me because it taught me to speak for myself, stand up for what's right, speak for what's right, and stand up for people that couldn't stand up for themselves as being picked on or being bullied. That's how it very impacted me.
Dr. King fiercely stood up against injustice even when it put him in danger. He led marches, organized protests, and gave powerful speeches to fight for equality. Despite facing threats and imprisonment, he remained brave and committed to his cause.
A confident communicator is someone who is kind and determined to share all of their ideas with someone else. Dr. Martin Luther King embraced a confident communicator by his sheer determination to share his ideas with others. It was important for him as a leader to get all of anyone who was willing to listen to him just to share those ideas and influences. So that's how he was a determined, confident communicator. His communication impacted others by allowing all of us to be here at Baker Middle School together. We are all here to learn from one another, to eat with one another, to share ideas with one another, and it's all because of him that we are able to be the diverse building that we are.
Dr. King had a way with his words that made people listen, understand, and believe in the possibility of having a better future. His confidence and calm demeanor was key to his success.
I think a critical thinker is somebody who not only is willing to think about complex problems, but thinks about complex problems and their effect on more than just themselves, and are willing to think about ways to address those complex problems in a way that affects everybody positively and grow and learn from it. Who I think that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is just like maybe the best example of somebody who was really a strong critical thinker. I think he did this. One of my favorite examples, I know there's so many examples from his life of how he did this, but one that really sticks out to me is he has a very famous piece of writing called Letters from Birmingham Jail. And he wrote those letters in 1963 from jails. He was arrested for protesting segregation, peacefully protesting, nonviolently protesting. And when he was in jail, instead of like complaining about being in jail and how bad it was for him to be in jail, instead he decided it was time to reach out. So he was a preacher, he was a minister, and he reached out to other ministers, most of who were white. And he convinced them, or he worked on convincing them, that the time to fight injustice is now. And his fellow ministers didn't believe that that was the right time to do it. They didn't think people were ready to fight injustice. And he says, you must fight it now. And so that's one way that I think he was a critical thinker, that instead of thinking about what jail was doing to him, he used it as an opportunity to address a really the very complex problem of segregation and discrimination.
He didn't act impulsively. He carefully planned every step of his movement. Using his critical thinking skills, he thought through problems and created strategies that would make the biggest impact.
Okay. Empathetic collaborator is someone that has their own responsibility and ideas, but also does their best in order to connect with folks and listen to people when they share their opinion. And so it's still being honest with who you are and what your values are, but also being empathetic or understanding to what someone else brings to the table and what their opinions are. Dr. King did his best to always be present with whoever he was with. I've done a lot of readings of Dr. King's work and folks that followed him. There was a young people movement, so young folks that were like your age that led a lot of the marches and opportunities for civil rights in the 60s and before the 60s and after the 60s. So I'd say he always tried to meet people where they were at. So whether it was like breaking bread through word, like we're doing right now by answering questions and asking questions, or through actually breaking bread through food.
Dr. King believed with treating everyone with respect, even though people disagree with him. He brought together people from all different life, races, religions, and backgrounds. He united people and showed them a shared vision of compassion and justice.
A flexible problem solver is somebody who solves problems by thinking outside the box and uses effective ways to solve things.
A flexible problem solver is somebody who solves problems in unique ways, and they can work around any issues they want because he worked with people with different perspectives without any violence.
For example, when he was doing his protests and conflict would arise, he would think of effective ways where he can keep pushing through and keep going with his protests.
Dr. King was known for his wisdom and believed in solving problems peacefully, using words and actions, not violence, to create change.
When challenges arose, he adjusted his plans and found new ways to keep moving forward, whether it was changing the location of a march or addressing unexpected setbacks.
He remained flexible while staying focused on his goals. He taught us kindness and intelligence together can move mountains.
A respectful citizen is a person who can go about their daily task and never get involved with breaking rules or hurting anyone or harming anyone. A person who believes in treating others as they would like to be treated, with love and kindness and support. A respectful citizen is one that will gain the respect, will be admired or liked by other people because you're so kind and you're so helpful in relationship to them. And respect simply means treating others as you would like to be treated. Okay. When we think of Martin Luther King, we think of a person who is a model for respect. For he fought for changes in the government, he fought for changes in local law enforcement, he fought for equal rights in where you sit on the bus. And the way he did that was never with any physical force, never any contact with anyone. Everything was by words. And he did it with smiles. He did it with the idea that I want you to know that you should appreciate me as I appreciate you. And his whole effort was that love should be the focus of your behavior. And when there's love as the focus of which you practice, then things will change. In fact, because of that nonviolent effort, we now have a federal holiday in his honor. And that is an example of him being respectful, because had he not been respectful, there would not have been this acceptance of him to believe that what he was doing was correct.
He believed in peacefully working within the system to create change. He encouraged others to stand up for what's right, but always with respect for the law and for each other.
Dr. King was more than just a leader during the civil rights movement. He was a person of incredible character and embraced the Bulldog Way.